High school sports, we've got it covered. Overtime starts now.
Hello and welcome to Overtime, the place for high school football in the state line. I'm Scott Lubber.
And I'm Drew Collins. We are glad you found us as we flipped from Fox 39 to WTVO this week.
It's a different channel, but the same great high school football content. We've got highlights of a huge game in Galena where Dupac took on the field tonight, plus Byron Stillman Valley's annual rivalry game.
We'll also take you to North Boone and Rockford Lutheran, and we'll have a big 8-man football game from Polo.
Plus our spotlight story on a state line man who's probably seen and definitely called more high school sporting events in this area than anyone else has, Don Wertz of Freeport.
We begin with a big game in the Nick 10 tonight, Hononegah at Guilford. Two teams with the 2-1 records going into this game.
A loss for either one would make life difficult for it going forward in the race for a Nick 10 championship. It is the Gillies Heating and Air Conditioning Game of the Week. Let's pick it up. Guilford, that's Messiah Tilson. He's getting outside. He's coming our way. I had to bail because I thought, he might take me out on the play. But no, we're all good there as he scores, gets it down inside the red zone. All right, Grayson Weber going to work here. Again, final minutes of that first quarter, and it's Tilson. He's got it, and that is a touchdown, 7-0 Guilford at that point. But Hononegah would answer on the following kickoff. This is Brady Jarvis who hauls it in. Jarvis looking around, and everybody thought he was stopped on this play. Everybody except Brady Jarvis. He just kept going and going, and he would go all the way for the touchdown. That was huge. It was 7-7, but still little time left on the clock before halftime. It's when the Vikings went to Chris Porter. Porter here with a hard run there for big yardage. Vikings are going to go right back to him again. Porter had a monster game last week against Auburn. They'll dump it off to him here. Porter makes a move on one defender. Here he comes. He's knocked out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Moments later, who they going to? It's Porter coming right at us. He's in for the touchdown. And at halftime, Porter and the Vikings led it 14-7. Third quarter action now. Drew Shockey back to pass. He's got a man downfield. Big gain there for Hononegah. Now let's ISO in on Keeson Taylor of Guilford. Off the edge, gets in there to disrupt things and back down that pass. Moments later, Hono trying a 38-yard field goal. It is up. It is good. And suddenly it was just a 4-point game in the third quarter, 14-10, Guilford leading. Grayson Weber back to the air. He's got his tight end down there. That's Keeson Taylor. Keeson with huge yardage to the 15. He says, that's a first down, folks. Certainly was. Moments later, Hano driving in the red zone, and there's Messiah Tilson with a pick. What a huge ending this was for Messiah Tilson because Hononegah is still down by 7 points at 17-10. They would get another crack at it in the final minute or so of the game, but Tilson came away with another pick. We're going to look at it right here. The step up the throw, and look at that great coverage there by Tilson inside the receiver. 2 picks in the final couple minutes there to preserve the Guilford win as Guilford goes on to take it 17-10. 2 big picks in crunch time. Man, what was that like out there to be able to come through in the clutch like that?
Just feeling good, staying disciplined, knowing they're coming out to pass the ball and just trying to get a quick touchdown because the time left on the clock. So just being ready for anything that's coming my way and just playing defense.
What did you read and see on the second pick?
I mean, routes were he's running routes. I'm reading his route, and then the quarterback's also looking right at me, so I know the ball's obviously going to come my way. So I'm just waiting on him to release it, and I'm going to get it wherever it's at.
You guys are super pumped about this win, which you should be. It's a big one. What is so special about getting this victory tonight?
I haven't beat them 3 years. This is my first time beating them. Being a senior, going out. This is my last time playing those guys. Good team, great team. Going out having fun playing against those guys. I love playing those guys.
Our Nick 10 analyst Tim Bailey joins us to dig into this one. In big games, Tim, your star players got to play big. We saw it for Guilford there. Let's start with Messiah Tilson and those 2 picks. What makes him special in the second?
Hey, first, big-time players step up in big-time games, and he did tonight. What makes him special is just his ability to make plays in that secondary and close. He's got great closing speed. He was probably so elated tonight that, the coach from Kentucky was there. One of the assistant coaches was there. So he knew he had to put on a show because I'm pretty sure that coach got back on the plane tonight and got nothing but good things to say about Messiah Tilson tonight. But what he does for that Vikings defense and that Vikings offense, he just electrifies that team.
Yeah, and Guilford's other star, Keeson Taylor, he's great and on both sides of the ball, tight end, defensive end. Where do you think he's better at?
You know, he's just an athlete. This young man's a pure athlete. I think he can do well on both sides of the ball. I think he'll have his opportunity when he goes to the next level to play either at tight end position because he's got that physique, he's got that stature. You know what he can do on defense. I give him the nickname the formidable one. You know, he had 2 big blocks tonight. You know, he causes offenses havoc. I mean, he's an offensive nightmare because of what he can do coming off that edge there, and also, too, what he can do at the tight end position, as you see here in this clip here. Big-time players, again, guys, step up in big-time games, and he did tonight as well.
He's got incredible hands.
Yes.
Sticking with Guilford now, running back Chris Porter, huge last week against Auburn, had over 200 yards rushing. They went to him a lot again tonight. What did you think of his running style, and how big of a cog is he in that Guilford offense?
He's the catalyst in that backfield. He actually is that heartbeat in that offense. If he's not going, that offense is not going. He's a tough runner. I like what he does when he gets in the open field, but I think, you know, what I saw tonight as it relates to his running style, he likes to dance a lot. I think he's trying to audition for Dancing with the Stars, you know, but what he needs to do, he just needs to get his body LOS, come downhill, as Coach Capriati said on my podcast today. You know, he did a good job last week of just squaring his shoulder to the LOS, and he had a big game last week, and he had a big outing tonight.
All right, let's talk Hononegah a bit. Obviously, they bounced back from last week, and they looked pretty good. What improvements did you see from the Indians tonight? I
saw a lot of players step up tonight. I know last week, you know, we didn't really see a lot of players step up, but I thought what they actually displayed tonight was really good. You know, a lot of guys stepped up, but they just really couldn't get it done. They're still missing one playmaker or two, but I think Hononegah is going to be okay. I think they just need to go back, reset, and figure out how they get that train back on the track and get that back into that W column.
They impressed me as a gritty team. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries, a lot of things go against them, but they just keep battling. They keep coming. They were right in there the whole game tonight.
14-7, halftime, come back out, make their adjustments. You know, understood what Guilford was doing in the first half. You didn't see a lot of that in the second half from Guilford. Kudos to the defensive coordinator for Hononegah to making those big stops and then coming out in the second half and making their adjustments. They just came up short tonight to a really good Guilford team.
Well, let's peek ahead to next week because Guilford goes to Harlem. Ooh. All right, what does Guilford maybe need to tighten up a little bit before they face the Huskies?
Wow, they need to tighten up a few things. You know, Harlem, got a chance to see Harlem play last week. They're no slouch. Definitely nothing to sneeze at. I just really believe, you know, what Guilford needs to do, go back, watch film, relish this one a little bit. Don't get too caught up in the W, move on, because next week you got a really good team that has a really good passing game and a really good running game and a darn good defense. So I think, you know, this week, now the focus should start with Harlem tomorrow morning with the actual Vikings.
All right, it is time for our question of the week. We're going to peek ahead again to next week in that big game we were just discussing. It's an over-under question. Next week, Guilford at Harlem, big one in the Nick 10. The over-under for total points scored in that game has been set by our crack staff here at 50.5 points. So, Tim, what do you say? Are you going to go over that point total or under? 50.5 points.
I'm gonna go under. I'm going to go under. I think it's going to be a really good defensive match next week with those two teams. I just really think, you know, with the way both offenses are playing right now, they're playing really good. But I'm going to take that over. That under.
The under?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to take
Drew, what do you think?
After watching Harlem tonight, I'll take the over. I don't know if it'll be both teams combined or maybe just one team. I'm going to go the over.
I love both defenses, but I think I'm going to go over too just because of the explosiveness there, you know. Right. But it's going to be an entertaining game, as this one was tonight as well.
Game. Yeah,
all right.
It was a good one tonight.
It was.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, as always, you can get more Nick 10 football information from Tim on the Bailey Pod. You can find a new episode on YouTube every Thursday. This week, his special guests are Jefferson's coach, Cody Kazaza, and Guilford coach, Anthony Capriati. Thanks, Tim, and of course, let's do it next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
We will have more Nick 10 highlights later, but next, a huge 8-man football game in Polo.
And big Northern action from North Boone Lutheran and Stillman Valley with the Cardinals hosted Byron. You're watching Overtime.
One of the best rivalries in the state, probably the best in 8-man football, is Polo against Milledgeville.
These are two programs that have dominated 8-man football since switching to that a few years ago. Well, tonight they met in Polo. Tyler Sorensen was there. Tyler?
Yeah, guys, these two teams cruise through the first 3 weeks of this season undefeated, and they might be the best two teams in the state. Last year, they met in the 8-man state semifinals, and Milledgeville won that game. So let's see what happened tonight in Polo. Now, this would be a battle of the defenses, and Marco opening drive, J.G. Stevenson drops back and gets picked off by Spencer Nye. Now, his name would be called so much this game. Now, on the ensuing drive for the Missiles, give to Connor Johnson, who gets dropped in the backfield by Esteban Sonales, and that drive would result in a punt. But now the Missiles again with the ball, and why not go to the air as quarterback Kyron Francis drops back and drops it into the bucket of Nye, taking them to the 20-yard line. And just a few plays later, Francis would find Carter Livingood with no one around him as he would just waltz into the end zone, giving the Missiles the lead with an 8-point lead. Now jumping to the second half, Marco's with the ball. Stevenson finds Mercer Mumford as he fights his way for a first down. Now he was a spark that the Marcos needed to try to mount this comeback. And hey, why not give it to him at the goal line as they would finally find the end zone, but Milledgeville would continue to tack on points as they would win this one 28-6. Now, guys, this Milledgeville squad has something special going on, and as Spencer Nye continues to play the way he did today, they're going to be super tough to beat. Now, guys, back to you.
All right. It's always fun, 8-man football like that, and it wouldn't surprise anybody if those two teams were to meet again in the playoffs down the road, and you still got Amboy out there, and a lot of good teams in 8-man around here, but it's just really fun to watch 8-man football.
Yeah, and like you said, they'll probably see each other down the road again.
And a great atmosphere at Polo tonight, so shout out to all the fans who turned out for that great game. All right, let's check out some more 8-man football. We've got the Hiawatha Hawks at Christian Life. Sea Life's Fred Swain on the carry, and number 33 just has nowhere to go. Hawks would take over the football. They're going to give it off to Tim Pruitt, and Swain's going to come flying out of there to make a hard tackle and return the favor. That's how you respond. Hiawatha is going to get the ball to Pruitt once again. Watch the spin move here. Just bounces right off a would-be tackler. Not a half-bad pick up there. That would keep an early scoring drive going for the Hawks. This time it's Aiden Cooper on the QB keeper. Some pretty good running there for Mr. Cooper. He is definitely a threat. Moments later, little misdirection. It's Cooper wheeling the other way. He decides, I'm just going to keep it, and he's in there for the touchdown. Hiawatha defeated Christian Life 60-6. Also an 8-man bowl, West Carroll defeated River Ridge 48-0. Amboy beat Flanagan 46-18. Tomorrow AFC will play at Orangeville.
Here's what went down in the NUIC tonight. Lena Winslow defeats Dakota 38-0. The Cardinals defeat the Mustangs 36-21. DuPec beats Galena 52-20, and the Wildcats defeat the Golden Eagles 30-18. Let's move on to the Big Northern Conference to North Boone. The Vikings won their first 3 games of the season, but they had a tough opponent tonight, the Dixon Dukes. Here's the very first drive of the game. Benny Barada comes in swarming like he's the 4th Watt brother. The Dukes grab a safety and take a 2-point lead. And here's the very next play. Dukes receive the kickoff following the safety. Owen Belzer fields it off of bounds, and watch this. A couple missed tackles, nice blocking, and that's all she wrote. The Dukes lead 8-0 in the first 4 minutes of the game, and their offense hasn't even came onto the field. I still put an argument that this might be the best player in the conference, Landon Carnegie. Just watch the moves in open space, so elusive, and the Dukes also had great downfield blocking. I know Coach Shaner loves that. Dixon led 14-0 very early. Hey, don't forget this Dukes team can spin it. Check out the Pete Crow Armstrong doppelganger, Jagger Kemp. Great spiral, great catch. Braxton Bruce has the TD. Here's the next play here. I got to it late. LJ, more action for him. He's looking like LT. And let's cap it off with another TD. Jagger Kemp dumps it off to LJ again, and he walks it in for the hat trick. The Dukes defeat the Vikings 48-0.
All right, at Lutheran, the Crusaders host to Winnebago. Opening kickoff. Nolan Hogden's going to corral it there for Bago, and he knows what to do with it. He's got lots of room there. He's got a man to beat. He avoids that tackle, but then is brought down. But that's a great gain down to about the 43-yard line of Lutheran. Bago in the red zone here, the pitch, but the Crusaders would blow up that play for a loss. Bago comes right back, though. It's going to be Cooper Larson. He carries over the right side. He is in for the touchdown. Now the 2-point conversion try. Braden Merriman, he's got that easy. Let's see if Lutheran could respond to that. Richard Anderson gets the football. Boy, is he dangerous. Nice stiff arm there. Anderson coming our way right down the sideline, chased out of bounds inside the 20. Moments later, QB Cameron Wagaman to the air has a TD pass to Zaid Mummin. The Indians would defeat the Crusaders 53-12.
This next one is always a fun matchup. Byron against Stillman Valley at the Valley. Tigers at the 5. Caden Considine squeezes towards the end zone, and he gets a touchdown. He has a lot of those this year. Byron again, close to the goal line, as I feel like they always are. Dawson Criddle rolls his way in for another Byron TD. Very next play, the Cardinals. Bryson Vatch on the kick return takes it to the Tigers' 40-yard line. This was a 56-yard return. Nice moves there. Kevin Haracha on 4th down trying to kick the field goal from 31 yards, and he makes it through the uprights. After that field goal, Landon Bonvalet, his own big return here. He wants one, and he will get one. He takes it all the way 78 yards for the TD. Byron improves to 4-0. The Tigers defeated the Cardinals 63-9. Also in the Big Northern Conference, the Hawks defeat the Rockets 49-0. And the Fighting Irish defeat the Cogs 35-28. In other area games, the Hubs fall to the Spartans 22-27, and the Barbs defeat the Chargers 41-0. Marengo defeats Woodstock 35-14, and the Hornets defeat the Rockets 49-0. Before we do anything else, let's find out who won our Athlete of the Week contest.
Athlete of the Week is brought to you by McCloskey, Kessler, and Associates. Our finalists were Guilford running back Chris Porter, Lena Winslow fullback Aiden Wild, Polo running back defensive back Mercer Mumford, and Harlem linebacker Brennan Brixon.
And the winner is Brennan Brixon. Almost 1,300 votes were placed. Brixon received 54% of them. Congratulations to Brixon. That's 3 straight weeks that a Harlem player has won the voting. Husky Nation has came out strong this season.
Our spotlight story on play-by-play man Don Wertz of Freeport coming up in just a bit, but next, more Nick 10 action.
Yeah, the Jefferson Jayhawks challenging the red-hot Harlem Huskies at Harlem.
One of the most impressive teams in the Nick 10 this season has been Harlem. The Huskies rolled through their first 3 opponents.
One Nick 10 team trying to establish themselves as a serious threat in the conference is Jefferson. The Jayhawks won 2 of their first 3 games, matching their win total from all of last year. Tonight, the Jayhawks and the Huskies went at it in a packed house over in McChesney Park. Let's start with this awesome improvising play by sophomore QB Braxton Fawcett. He runs around like he left the sink dripping at home, and he finds Briar Craig. Check out the big reception and the big boom delivered. Here comes up the Mr. Clean Show, Dwayne Broom. He sweeps his way for 6. The Huskies were cooking and dancing, having it all tonight. Harlem goes for 2, and they get 2. 21 Savage Ladarius Foster follows his blocks for the conversion. Harlem led 24-0 in the second quarter. This Harlem team has been the best secondary in the state line. Every week they have a pick 6, and that trend continues. This time it's Jermaine Ransom jumping the route and going all the way. The Huskies led 31-0 at half. The starters only played 3 quarters, but the Huskies, they made the most of it. Here's Noah Crandall. He had 3 sacks tonight, now 7.5 on the season. And later in the third, Huskies lean on Ladarius Foster again, and again he has another nice gain. He takes them all the way to the goal line, and then they will run the Philly special of sorts and punch it in. The Huskies beat the Jayhawks 45-8.
At Boylan, the Titans hosted Belvedere North to start things off. The Titans ball, QB Dominic Cacciatore, the handoff to Alex Hernandez, who will race through there and get a few yards there. Next, Cacciatore going to fake the handoff here, and the ball goes to Hernandez again. This time he goes to the outside, gets the edge. Nice pickup there. Let's check out Belvedere North now with football. Andrew Bucci handing it off to Xavier McElroy. Big, hard-running fullback. Nice gain down near the end zone. Not long after that, Bucci seals the deal on this drive as he plunges in for the TD. Blue Thunder go on to win this game as they defeat Boylan 40-7. In the other Nick 10 game tonight at Belvedere, the Bucks would handle the E-Rabs 46-0. Tomorrow at noon, Freeport will take on Auburn.
Our Spotlight segment is up next.
We're going to get to know a man who is one of the wonders of broadcasting, Freeport radio play-by-play man Don Wertz, going strong now for 50-plus years. Since you're watching the show, you're passionate about high school football. Well, there's a Freeport man whose passion for high school football and high school sports might surpass that of everyone in the state line. Chances are you've heard him, even if you've never seen him. Here's our Overtime Spotlight story, brought to you by Rockford Career College.
These two teams, of course, made the playoffs last year.
It's a Friday night in Lena, and Don Wertz is there.
Going back to throw, hot pass over the middle, and it's caught by Eli Larson to the 40-yard line to the 41, and they'll get up for the first down.
He's in the press box, providing play-by-play alongside his broadcast partner, John Buttersreed, and with longtime sideline reporter Larry Phillips down on the field. They let thousands of listeners in on what's happening from the opening kickoff until signing off long after the game ends. Wertz is a 1974 Freeport High School graduate. He's been broadcasting football games, basketball games, baseball games, and softball games in the Freeport area for more than 50 years. What was your first game? Do you remember?
Sure do. It was December of 1973. I was a senior in high school. I was working full-time at the station evenings and weekends, and the sports director up and quit the day that Freeport was playing in the quarterfinals of the DeKalb Holiday Basketball Tournament. The station management knew I was always had an interest in sports. They called me and said, "Hey, would you like to do the game tonight?" And I said, "Of course." And that was the start of it.
Wertz participated in sports in high school. Tennis was his best sport.
There's the hair. That's me down in the corner. This was the all-conference tennis team in 1973.
Wertz began his radio career working for Rick Edwards at the radio stations in downtown Freeport. In 2000, he started working with Scott Thompson at Big Radio, a powerhouse company that has 10 stations that serve Freeport, Monroe, Janesville, and Beloit. Wertz has seen and called a lot of sporting events during his career, including state basketball tournament games like this one last March when the Eastland boys played for a state championship. And Lena Winslow's many trips to state in football, along with Dakota, Forest, and EPC, and so many NUIC powerhouse football teams that played and won state championship games. He'll never forget his first broadcast of a state football game. It featured Freeport-Aquin.
I had never done a state championship game until 1981. So when I did that football game, which featured Aquin against Maroa Forsyth, that was a thrill. For a broadcaster, getting to that level was, for the first time, a big deal.
Covering the 1973-74 Freeport basketball team also ranks right near the top of Wertz's thrills. This was again his senior year, and the year he started doing play-by-play. And those talented basketball players were his classmates. They went 28-2.
This is while I'm in school, so these are my guys. These are my classmates.
And who is the athlete he has enjoyed watching the most over the years?
If I had to pick an athlete that I wanted to broadcast one more game, it would have been Jamal Meeks playing basketball for Freeport. The kid was just electrifying. Yes, he made big shots, but the way he passed the ball and his court presence, I would love to do that again.
If you've ever listened to Wertz do play-by-play, you've heard him rattle off some amazing stats and nuggets of background information on the teams, the athletes, and the schools. Things that only Don Wertz would know. That's because he does his homework, unlike any other high school play-by-play guy anywhere.
So I keep one file on every single school that we broadcast. Nick 10 Conference, NUIC, 8-man football, all the schools we broadcast. I keep a file on every single school, and I drop information in here during the year that I think I might use sometime when we're broadcasting their game on the radio.
He has files in multiple cabinets and drawers.
So everything goes back to 1990. So every game that I broadcast football-wise from 1990 on are in these 4 file cabinet drawers.
He also has boxes full of scorebooks and stats in his basement.
See why people probably call me a stat hoarder.
The only stat Wertz doesn't have is the number of games he has broadcast.
I've been asked that a lot of times, Scott, and I really don't have an answer because I'm a stats guy, but not my own stats guy. My guess is somewhere in the 4,000 game range, maybe even more, towards 5,000.
But Wertz doesn't just rattle off numbers on his broadcast. He weaves in stories about the athletes, coaches, even their grandparents, aunts, and uncles because, well, he pretty much has covered them all over the years. Wertz's career has also brought him into contact with famous pro athletes and celebrities. He has a wall in his basement covered with photos of people he's met. Muhammad Ali, Spike Lee, Randy Travis, Jay Leno, and Michael Jordan are a few of them.
Private schools cannot.
Our radio has evolved over the years. Now Wertz has his own studio set up in his home where he can file sports reports throughout the day and record interviews with coaches before he goes out to cover the big games. The internet has also changed things. Now Wertz's call of the games aren't just booming through the airwaves of northwestern Illinois. They can now be heard throughout the country and in other parts of the world.
That is huge. I get emails, I'll get texts, I'll get calls for people that were listening in Russia, listening in Japan, let alone listening in California or New York, or parents that are vacationing in Florida or snowbirding and just love listening to their kids' games.
Wertz recently turned 69. How many more games and years of play-by-play are in his future?
And I don't have a definitive answer for you, Scott, because I don't know. A couple of years ago, I probably could have given you a better answer. I lost my wife, Linda, and that changed everything for me, because now I did not have her to spend time with. With her, it was professional time and family time. But now all I do is work 7 days a week. And if I didn't have the work portion of it, I don't know what I'd do. And I guess I feel if I enjoy it and we still put a product on the air that people enjoy and like listening to, there's no reason to say I'm going to end on this date. Why not keep doing it?
You know how we say that an athlete left it all out on the field? Well, Don Wertz, he leaves it all in the press box and at the microphone.
All those notes and stats, I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, I'm amazed every time I listen to him do a ball game, because he's got so much information at his hands. It's incredible. He's the best play-by-play guy I've ever heard in multiple states over my many years of following high school sports. We'll be right back. It's time for the Napleton Auto Group Play of the Night.
The top play caught on our cameras. Let's head over to the Dixon at North Boone. Owen Belzer is going to field a kickoff. This was following a safety in the first few minutes of this game. There's obviously some nice blocking here, but also some shifty moves. He's going to go all the way, and Dixon was all over this one.
They got quite the team, the Dukes do, certainly. All right, let's look ahead to next week. In the Nick 10, Belvedere North and Jefferson going to kick things off Thursday night at Swanson Stadium. Everybody else will play on Friday night. Guilford at Harlem, that's the big one we were discussing earlier. Boylan at Belvedere, Freeport at Hononegah, and Auburn against East.
In the big Northern Conference, Winnebago plays at Byron. Dixon will go to Oregon. North Boone at Genoa Kingston. Stillman Valley at Rock Falls, and Lutheran will play a non-conference game at Dakota.
In the NUIC, Galena will play at Forreston, Fulton at Lena Winslow, Morrison at Stockton, and EPC at DuPec. That game's going to be at Pecatonica. In other games around the area, LaSalle Peru plays at Rochelle, Sycamore at Ottawa Township, Lincoln Way Central at DeKalb, Marengo at Plano, and Sandwich will play at Harvard.
Here are the games in 8-man football next Friday. South Beloit at Hiawatha, Christian Life at Aldine Hebron, River Ridge at Milledgeville, Polo at AFC, and Amboy at Galva. A reminder, you can find highlights and scores anytime on our website, mystateline.com. Just takes a couple clicks and a finger on your mouse.
We will be in touch throughout next week, letting you know what time and what channel you can see Overtime on.
For now, that does it for our show.
Thanks for watching, and enjoy your weekend.